The idea was that we have no end user input that we finally ended up with. We created a system, it plugs into Outlook. Every time you send an email, it will parse, the natural language toolkit will parse your email and determine if there's any key phrases within that email. If there are, it will pull them out and then show them to you. So here we've got the ranking interface there, KM, natural language processing, NLP, soccer, LCD. You then rank them, interest, basic knowledge, working knowledge, expert, or not applicable. They were our initial rankings. We've changed them slightly now. If you rank them, they go back into the main database, which then can be searched within the organization to find out who knows what. So this is a real live screenshot. This is an email. We need to use the compound D112 for drug BX blah, 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 to ensure that this is a success on the pilot study. If we don't, we might be liable and have to pay costs of a retrial. You submit that in terms you send it to your normal recipient. It will come back and with a little pop-up if it extracts key phrases and shows you 4 options there. You can say I have a basic knowledge, working knowledge, expert knowledge, or not applicable. Not applicable might be it's pulled out some personal terms, or you really don't think it's applicable to you. It's not added to the database and you will never see that word again. So the system does learn from what you tell it. So the system is up and running and it does work, but there are a number of issues still to address. Potential system problems would be self-assessment. We all know within organisations some people think they really are wonderful experts, but we all know them to be not quite as good as they think. And then the other end of the spectrum, there are real experts out there, but they think actually I don't really know much at all. So are they really experts? What about if you're overwhelmed by queries? Could be say you're an expert, problem. You get a number of queries a day, that affects your work. Will that have a knock-on in terms of keyword submissions? So in the future they might not say they're an expert even though they are. And can we get employees to actually buy into the system? Will they actually start to submit their key phrases, or will they think Big Brother is what Susie and Fred? The other hi Tony, use the compound approach. Here we have Susie and Mary. The outcome depends on the compound you use, Fred. So the system actually pulls out the word compound. Susie's talking about an account. If you look on the next slide, accounts, and Fred is talking about chemical compounds. So it's hard to try and determine which area these people are actually working in. However, in our trials, when you start to look at the key phrases it's extracted for yourself, it's quite powerful in that you can start to build up a picture of where these people actually do work. So maybe it's not such of an issue as we email retention costs. So we initially think employers, we looked at all the challenges, but maybe this could be a bit of a breakthrough. So what are the potential benefits of using a system like this? Well, you can probably monitor change, employee knowledge, gaps in organisational knowledge, identify training requirements, highlighting changing business by the key phrases you're extracting. If you bring them all together, you can see what are the hot topics within the organisation. So you can actually find contacts to go and talk to about how you actually develop a new idea or a new solution. The other question is, do you offer rewards for sharing knowledge? Is it built into your annual review, or do you offer something like knowledge sharing miles? We see on this slide. Just to go back to key phrases, AstraZeneca, and you'll see here some of the key phrases that have been extracted. So LFT, liver function test, for some reason that peaks during May and June. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? When you're doing a liver function test, does that mean you need to hire in more resources? So you can start to manage or predict, forecast what the organisation might need going on previous year's results. So already, even though we think email can be a bit of a problem and trying to manage it can be a bit of an issue, this potential solution could really get some good benefits from the email messages that we send every day and sit on the server and we have problems with in terms of retention and what should be deleted, etc., etc. So we move on to the next section and look at the cost of email communication and the research that's been done in that area. Again, we've been working in this area since about 1998, and we've done various studies looking and monitoring employees at their workstation and discovering that most employees, majority, react to incoming email within 6 seconds of it arriving, which is phenomenal, and how that can have a knock-on effect because most of the email applications are set up to check for new email every 5 minutes. So if they get a new task that comes in every 5 minutes via email and they go straight to it, they take on average about a minute to deal with the email, and it then takes about 64 seconds to get back into the work they were doing before the email interruption. So they haven't got much time before the next email interruption, which means they are likely to be fatigued and productivity is likely to. In this next slide you will see we've come up with a number of phases, and this is a good guide really. We've used it in many organisations to start to understand the landscape, the email landscape that you have within the organisation, which will also help you determine the costs. There's the pre-assessment phase, which looks at what other organisations have done and will that actually help within your organisation. There's the assessment phase where you deploy a questionnaire, and the questionnaire that we've developed is quite in depth and covers many different areas. Then you have to try and analyse that questionnaire. We've come through, we've actually got a good way of doing that in terms of green, amber and red, so areas that you might need to concentrate on within the organisation, areas for concern. Then once you've done that, it's coming up with a strategic plan to try and address those issues and get business buy-in. So this is where it's important where the costs of email communication comes in. Because you want to try and do something, trying to sell that to the board or a group of managers is sometimes very difficult, but if you can show the cost savings, it makes it much easier. Implement the strategy. Again, we've got techniques on how to do that. Evaluate and keep reviewing what you've done, and then go back to the board with the potential, or not just the potential, but the actual cost savings you've made. Over the years, we've developed the questionnaire. We've come back with lots of different results, and these are just 39% of emails, some of the results, so information heaven 29% copied in unnecessarily, 17% irrelevant. So if you reverse all that, only 15% of your inbox actually requires action. So is there another way of communicating? Should we send everything via email? So by the other email, figures we have 53% of employees regarding more email than they can handle. That's quite a staggering amount of employees. Time for work? 76% of employees feel they don't have sufficient time to do their work. So this would be a good indication of a sign of being overloaded. Negative effect on productivity, negative effect on quality of work, and maybe a negative effect on creativity. So there's some real issues that could be addressed if employees leave emails they have read in their inbox for later. That's important because they've read the email, it's another task they have to deal with. The human brain can only deal between 11 and 15 tasks at any one stage. If we're getting emails, the amount of emails we get in some organisations is something like 115 a day. Unless the employees are closing them down, they will become overwhelmed and suffer from fatigue. So the average employee can only deal with about 100 emails a day. That would be a combination of both emails sent, and received. Lots of organisations have space restrictions on their inbox, but the amount of time people spend trying to put emails in different folders. The average time is 40 minutes a day managing their inbox, and some range from 0 minutes, but they said 63% said all the way up to 3 hours. That 63% said their space restrictions did not help them manage their inbox more efficiently. Now, lots of organisations have put in the space restrictions to try and help with records management, but it appears it's very costly. So is there more effective way of doing this? The main argument is about the cost of reading email. It is the largest. So we've worked this out for the world, and they're based in London, so the salaries are quite high. We're looking at about £50,000 a year. We double that because there's also costs of pensions, overheads, etc. So we're looking at a considerable amount per employee. But if we look at just one department, 100 employees, number of emails received a day is 2.7 million. Critical emails, so the ones that actually have to deal with, the cost of that is 816,000. If you could send the non-critical via a different method, you could save £4.7 million a year, or put in hours, 78,000 hours a year. Clearly some of that time would have to be spent reading in a different guise, maybe news groups, etc. But there is a potential saving there, and if you just save or shave a percentage, you could save a lot of money. Cost of managing the inbox, we're looking again at just under £1 million a year for 100 employees, which is 16,000 hours. So is there a better way that we can manage the information that is being sent within the email inbox? And there are lots of different ways you can do that, but we have to understand within any organisation how that organisation works, and it starts right back at trying to deploy a questionnaire to understand how people use email. Once we know that, we can then deploy solutions to try and reduce the amount of time employees have to spend filing, reduce the amount of time employees have to spend reading email. So if you would like some help trying to identify the email landscape within your organisation, get in touch with me. There is the Email Optimization Toolkit book which you can buy. I can give you the questionnaire for free, but the actual how you analyse it is within the book. However, I've written quite a few papers and they're on my website drthomasjackson.com, so if you need help, get in touch and I'll see what I can do. It'd be really good to see what sort of problems you're facing. So moving on, what's next? We have a really exciting challenge. What we're going to do is something with the Welsh Assembly set up by the National Archives, and they want to be able to classify the Welsh Assembly have lots of emails, and we're going to take the EEC engine, which we talked about earlier, extracting knowledge from email, and re-engineer it and try and classify and categorize each email within the email vault at the Welsh Assembly. A lot of work. We've got a PhD student working-ish, or maybe October. I'm just trying to recruit one now that will look at this for the next 3 years. So we'll keep you posted on this. So to summarise, we've looked at some of the main challenges that we face with email management, and there are quite a few out there. We've looked at the rough background to email management research. There hasn't been much done. We're trying to get a body of knowledge together, which we think we're doing slowly, but also how that might work. We've looked at making the most of terms of the Welsh Assembly, and we've looked at the cost of email communication very briefly, looking at the real costs of reading email and managing the inbox every day, and we've given some figures regarding the potential problems that employees are actually facing. And then we just finally summarise with where we're going next. Something just to mention, we're also working with the Welsh Assembly regarding email stress. We're doing physiological studies with employees to find out, do people get stressed by email communication. Again, if you want to take part in that, get in contact with me. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'm really sorry I can't be there, but please get in touch if you want any further information.